Bon dia. Good morning, everyone. Working for everyone? Yeah? Okay. So, welcome. It's a pleasure to be here representing Oceano Fresco. We have, it's a bit of a two-in-one session. We have an intro about the company, showing an example of a startup Portugal-based, and we wanted to introduce the challenge of scale. So it's our challenge for sure, but it probably is a challenge also for other companies in the sector. A little bit about me. I work in Oceano Fresco, makes sense, that's why I'm here. Came back to Portugal about 2 years ago for personal reasons. That's 3 kids. And before that, I used to work in a company that has nothing to do with the blue economy sector. I used to work in a Procter & Gamble, so it's a multinational. The reason I thought about mentioning it is I never had a discussion about scale at P&G. It was taken for granted. We had loads of money, loads of resources. Plants made things, not living things, so we didn't have to deal with natural resources directly. So that's a huge contrast versus what we're going to see here today and from our sector. How do I go back? Just a little bit, this is what we're going to do. It's basically an intro on the company and then a bit of a discussion on how we scale. So this is our mission, if you'd like. So we're a sustainable seafood company. We do bivalves. We do clams first. We're thinking about expanding to other species like scallops and others. And we are an aquaculture company, but a sustainable, innovative aquaculture company. This is our brief history. We started in 2015. This is where the founding team went around the world to learn how bivalves were done in many, many regions and countries. This is where we started investing time and money on scientific research on how to actually do the cultivation of bivalves in a bigger scale, more productive way. It's still going. 2020 is when we build, infrastructure, if you like. So we built the Biomarine Center, which we have a hatchery there in Nazaré, Portugal. And we built the first open sea farm for clams off the coast of the Algarve in Lagos. So this is the infrastructure. 21, we got awarded the Seal of Excellence by the European Commission. 22, we got our big boat. It's actually our second boat, but we call it Oceano Fresco 1 just to confuse people. But it's our big boat, and it's about to go and join the team in the farm. What we're not saying here is all the problems. This is all the good stuff. And 23, I've underlined it because it's not history. It's for next year. This is when we hope to be able to do first commercial sales. We've done some pilots, but this is the national company launch, if you like. The company has been founded by different types of money, founders, a lot of public incentives, but also private money, so venture capital. We got Blue Crow in the beginning, that's seed money. And last year we did the Series B, and we got on board Aquaspark and Semapa Next. Blue Crow is more seed money. Aquaspark is a reference within the industry. And Semapa Next is like the VC arm of Semapa, which is a big Portuguese conglomerate. This mix is very important. We think we got the mix right. And you will see as we go along, especially when we talk about risks and scale, why it's important to have the right team. This is the team of Oceano Fresco a few months ago. We're around 33 now. And we call it a team of entrepreneurs because some of us are doing things that no one has done before. So that's also the part of the adventure that we are dealing with. And this is an important slide. This is like today, ahead of sales, ahead of closing a cycle, a little bit like how we see the future, / what we've done so far. And What we're trying to do is scale up a regenerative farming business. We are focused on bivalves, as I said, European clam only. We want to be, financially smart and viable. It's a given. It's about export sales, value-added products. It's about also the other type of investment, so biotech, R&D, innovation. We think we're sustainable. We want to be more sustainable. We need that sense of progress and measures year on year. That's a roadmap. It's a growing team. Many on the team are either highly skilled, highly educated, or both. And we have hubs in low-income areas like Nazaré and Lagos. It's important this is where we are, what we think we want to be. We'll talk risks and scale later on. Why we do it? I'll do a quick pitch. We have a longer pitch when it's with investors. This is the short version. But the problem one, because we're always dealing with problems, it's the food shortage. I'm not going to go on it. Probably people here would know more than I would. Our take is that the solution would be coming from nature, which is bivalves, and it's about going low trophic, or the bottom of the food chain. I'm going to move to the second problem, which is, okay, if that's the case, let's just produce a lot of it, and it's done. But there's a problem with supply, or the current supply doesn't work, basically. There's a bit of a vicious cycle. That's my version of the vicious cycle. Probably you guys will do a slightly different version. It's mostly supply, but it's not only. There's a bit of demand, which is combine a weak supply with seasonal consumption, a very short shelf life, and to be honest, it's a big gray market, at least in Iberia, South Europe. And all of these just doesn't work, so can't solve the problem. So when we think about Oceano Fresco as a regenerative farming, it's a bit of an and. We do bivalves, and this is basically my goodie list. This is all the good stuff of the bivalves, but also because on how we farm, which is it's a scalable way, and it's non-extractive, so we're not damaging or reducing the natural resources. Native species only, so it's good for biodiversity. And we have the open sea grow out, which is high water renovation and high quality of water, which is Class A. So, and we also think we're going to have an indirect positive effect on the farm that we are in the process of studying it. So the combination of bivalves and how we farm is what we think makes us different. And this will be in a sentence how we would sum it up, which is we believe we can regenerate nature if we farm and we eat better. Okay? Now the next sections, we're going to show you a couple of videos on how we farm, and then I'm going to take you through a few slides on how we want to get people to eat more bivalves. So I'm going to need your help, ajuda nos vídeos. First one. So that's Nazaré, that's where we have the Biomarine Center, and that's where the clams are born. They stay there for a few months, and now they go to the grow out, to the open sea farm, which is the next video. clams will be about 6 months, give or take, in the first step in a hatchery, and they will be over a year, depending on size, on the open sea farm. It's about a 2 years total process. We're doing it already, so that's why we hope to make proper sales next year. Okay. The next video is just a show off of the new boat. We couldn't resist. So the boats on the open sea farm are like our tractors. They will go into the farm and farm. All right. So this is, This is something we've done. We've been farming for 2 years. The learning curve like that. Loads of things that we had on Excel, on protocols, on benchmarking that happened exactly like we hope, and loads of things that didn't happen at all. So it's been a steep curve, but it's something we've done. As we go now into our clams, will be a little bit more our commercial section. We haven't started sales, so we've done pilots, we've done research. So it's more of a plan, so rather than, we know it. Start with the market. It's a big market in Europe, surprisingly. It's a 2B, we estimate. And Iberia is actually the most important market, and the most important market for the premium segment. This is clams only. It would be bigger if it would be total bivalves. If you look at the market segments, there's an issue and an opportunity for us, which is to get into the premium tier and repopulate with the European species that are there, which is the ones we farm or want to farm, and create category value. That's basically our commercial mission. We have a consumer proposition, which we wrap it up. These are actually our clams. So the picture. We think about the consumer this way. So in Portuguese, it's actually the 3 S's, because the words start with an S. But in English, it's sustainable, healthy, and tasty. And this is it's the strategy behind everything we want to do from a consumer point of view. And we think the consumers will choose us because of the 3 things. For some of us, one of them might be more important, or for some occasions, one of them might be more important. If you're more self-aware about being healthy, that picks up. Or if you're more of a gourmet, you might take the recipes and the chefs. And if you're just engaged with the oceans and sustainability, perhaps the sustainable side on how we farm picks up. But the positioning is about the 3 things, a triangle of 3 things. We have a different proposition for the customer. So customer will be the direct company buying from us that then would sell to other companies or directly to consumers. And that's about an all-year reliable supply and business partnership. I don't think I mentioned, but the way we farm is every day, so it's a continuous process. Every day we do babies in Nazaré, and every month we send seeds to the farm. Every day the seeds in the farm are growing to bigger clams, so we can actually extract and harvest any day of the year. Theoretically, that's not the case. So the commercial side picks on that, and that's our differentiation point. If I would be personally with a customer, regardless if it's a small distributor or a big kind of retailer, this is the kind of sales pitch I would be doing. I'm not going to do it now, but this is the kind of thing I would do it. I would be talking about, we have high volumes because we can produce or the point on the all year round harvest is a big one. It means as a client of Oceano Fresco, you can stop focusing on purchasing and you can start focusing on selling, because from now on you're going to get clams and bivalves, while before it's super unreliable. They never know if they get it or not. It's about delivery responsiveness. We built and invested capex in inland, so we have inland infrastructure to kind of de-risk the sea operations. And the product is super high quality for many reasons. Is the location of the farm, the fact that they're underwater all the time, so they have food availability all the time, and many other reasons. And it starts there from a commercial point of view. And one day when we get to maybe year 2 or 3, we can talk to a big retailer and think about expanding a geography or something big and plan for it. So we can do that sense of planning. Now, it starts with the clams. This is a picture. They're not all good looking. Some of them are a bit bad looking. We internally joke with the good looking ones and the bad looking ones, which is probably not funny, but that's what we have here. But they're very tasty, they're very good, and we are at the stage where we are doing commercial pilots with the customers, trying to see if they see what we see, if they like it, if it comes on top like we hope it would. This is just the marketing plan. This is how the packaging will look like when we start sales next year. We go a little bit light, we go a little bit modern. We have a packet this is for the people, our salespeople visiting the restaurants, where they would engage with the restaurant owner or chef and talk about our clams and how they could use more clams on their own menus. And this will be the similar thing, but for later on for a supermarket, for instance. Okay. So that's us. And now what I wanted to do is basically come to the topic of scale, which is a bit of a hybrid. There's a bit of a challenge and a bit of things we think already know. So it's a bit of a 2-in-1. It's more of a starting a conversation. So the first one would be about cultivation. How can we scale up? And we always, internally we always joke, if we don't have clams and bivalves, we can't do anything else. So we have to get this right. And the project needs this in high quantity. So, and that's how we would nail it. Like, what do you mean by scaling up cultivation? What we mean is high and higher, so year-on-year growth of production volumes. Just being very blunt, right? How do we do it, and how do we think we can do it, which is perhaps a little bit more humble. There's an element of productivity. I'm going to spend a bit of time here just in case not everyone is familiar. Some of you guys would be experts and others maybe not, so I'll spend a bit of time here. The survival and growth rates are really, really important. So if one day you get into this business, this is the make or break. Obvious for some of you, perhaps less. It wasn't for me till I joined. But it starts with the animal. The bivalves or clams in specific, they would in nature, we don't know the true number, but maybe 99.9% would die from birth to adult size. So that's the biology of the animal. And us, we had hatchery and open sea farm and R&D. We're trying to get to bigger numbers, so in terms of survival. But the Excel might say 10, 20, 50%. Just being able to double that, it's huge. You get double the number of production. So how do you do that? It's all in the process innovation. So those two words are very discrete, but that's where we spend all the time. It could be new protocols on how you do the cultivation, how often you do the grading, how you do the water analysis to prevent something happening. Could be the quality of the materials we use. We call it lanterns, those things that go underwater where we put the clams. The quality of the materials, the density, the depth. There's a lot of things that, because no one has done exactly what we've done, we are learning by doing. And a lot of times testing, A/B testing, right? They're doing a couple of things in different ways and trying to get to the answer. That's not just the sake of learning. It's really focused on getting the survival and growth rates up to where we think it should be, benchmark. Digital transformation, we're operating on Excel today. And a couple of them, not just one Excel. So we are dealing with several companies, trying to think about what are the kind of support and models and softwares we could have, sensors, etc., to get especially the open sea farm, digitally transformed. It's a bit of a buzzword, but it's moving from Excel to something a bit more sophisticated, which we'll need as we're operating maybe at 10, 15%. I'm looking at Bernardo, 10, 15% of the farm today. It's still manageable on Excel, not tomorrow, when the whole thing is packed, right? Now, another way to get higher production volumes is to expand. We need to think expansion through the life cycle of the animal, right? So it would be first the hatchery. That's where it starts. So we actually, at some point in time, will need more space in Nazaré, physically, to get to a bigger hatchery. We will need later more farms and fleet boats. Ideally, but not necessarily all of them, but some of them around Lagos, because also there's a synergy with the inland harbor investments we would do. And also, once the clams come out of the farm, big, ready to go to the market, they go to inland stock that we have, so we call Operations Center in Nazaré. And that, again, will be a bottleneck as well. So it starts with the hatchery, the first investment, farms and fleets, and then again the last one will be inland. All of that is obviously a way to expand volumes. We need to get these two right. Ideally, we would first be at this, coming out of the yellow red to a green area on productivity, becoming a lot more predictable and reliable, and then spend the money and do the expansion with a lot less risk. That's the ideal sequence of events. Now there's 2 years cycle of life of the animals, so we also need to sync that with our kind of financial plan, but that's the theory. The third way to get more volumes is de-risking, which basically means actually getting what you thought you're going to get. We put here the couple of the obvious ones. There will be others. We did get an attack this year, beginning of this year, of predators. They can be somehow predicted, and we can be less exposed for different ways on how you cultivate, but the risk is there all the time. In our case, it was crabs. We now know it could be other things in the future. So that's there. Biotoxins is a problem for us. I don't know if everyone knows it, but there's an algae boom that happens. So IPMA would then do, for everyone, not just us, the weekly analysis. And if it's detected, then we shut down the farm. That's for food safety. Makes all the sense. But it's very unpredictable. You don't know when this is happening, and you don't know for how long. So if you're running a business and you just made a point of difference to your customers that I'm all year round supplier, a reliable supply, but except for when it's closed, it's So we need to work on this one, and that could be different solutions. It could be inland solutions like treatment of the animal. It could be just a software for prediction, so we know a little bit ahead, and then we can stock up safely. Other things, but that's something we're dealing with, and we don't have a solution. So we need to go and innovate with either us or probably with loads of partners. And the last one is just a risk kind of management classic tool, which is having multiple sites, expecting that if you have an issue, it didn't happen in the whole production, it happened only on part of your production. So this is something we feel we already got into the learning curve. If we would be here in a year from now, 2 years from now, I'm sure we would say new things, but we started doing it. It's something we've done. The next one is a little bit more theoretical. We are starting commercial operations next year. So this is more how we're planning to do it rather than we've done it. I'm using the same model, so what we're trying to achieve is higher value sales. If you're in the sector, you probably think this is the way it works for everyone. Coming out of the sector, that's not how it works. I've never been in a business that we assume we can sell everything we can produce. I've always been able to produce more than I could sell. So my job was to push things that people didn't want or didn't want as much as we want to sell them. And here now we're operating in a classical, whatever we can produce, we are operating in a way or planning and executing a plan that we're going to sell everything. slightly different way. But you will see that one of the ways to de-risk is to synchronize sales and production. We need a heads up from production how much you're going to have next year or in 6 months, and we need the commercial plan that goes with it. But the production plan leads, and the sales plan follows, if that makes sense. So the way we're looking at it is pricing because of this reason. So volume at some point in time is kind of locked. So the variable is pricing. I guess you would know, but it's like hotel business. It's a very different price between high season and low season in terms of consumption and pricing in the market. So we want to get into that, tap it. And then product size is another way to get more value. So we want to play that as well. And from a commercial point of view, we want to, as much as we can influence, help demand stay ahead of supply. So today we think there's scarcity. Tomorrow what we can do from a sales point of view is get more customers than you need, and get so that they want more, and it's not a discussion on price, it's a discussion on do you have it. And from a marketing point of view, which no one, to the extent we know, is doing a lot of marketing in this space, is make it attractive and making it sexy and sustainable and getting to the chefs and restaurants. So there's a bit of consumption pickup. So if the consumption picks up, customers would want to, and if you have a little bit more customers than you need, you keep that the way it should be. Expansion is another one, obviously. It's a bit like the previous one. So new geographies, new trade channels, more product range. That's a 2-in-1. So today we start with clams in fresh and alive. Tomorrow we could have other species like scallops and other fresh and alive. But to any species that we could also move into other forms. That could be frozen, chilled, processed, ready to eat. There's a whole space there. The way we are de-risking is the point I made. So the synchronization of distribution and production we think is key and will stay key for many years to come. Customer mix is just an obvious one. Try not to grow with one big customer, because in a year or 2 years from now, it could get a bit tactical and you're very dependent. And the last one is, from an operational point of view, super key to have that operation, water tank, stockage, inland, so you buffer out the risk of the natural resource you're dealing with, which is the ocean. It's theoretical. It's a plan that we are operating. Next year, maybe we can tell more. The last one we have here, and it's the last slide, and we're good on time, is how to scale another type of investment. We want to be an R&D-led, an innovation-led company. That's an investment. That has risk. And we'll need to make the whole thing work, right? Cultivation, sales, the financial side, and keep doing this investment. So it's about future sales growth. That's how we look at it. And we look at, I put it in 2 buckets here. You have the hardcore R&D. If you know our company, you know our main project has been about species number 2 called Decosatus, which is an R&D program that is ongoing. It will take 9 years. And the reason is the species has a life cycle of 3 years, and the full results will be the grandchildren. So that's long, right? Coming from FMCG, that's long. It might produce some interim results, but the full results. And then we have cultivation R&D. It's ongoing, is every year, every month. That's more short term, but there's a lot to be done. It's not a sector where we can benchmark from others. We kind of done that already now. Now we're kind of on our own or with external partners that are also innovative. And the last one is an area that we haven't done maybe as much as we want to do now, which is microplankton, which is the food of our clams or our bivalves. And it's really important. They say you are what you eat, and that's true. On innovation, that would be more into the space of FMCG. The risk profile is probably lower, So as a portfolio, it kind of comes together. The new product development is a buzzword for, it could be new packaging. So we're going to sell it. If you've seen the picture of our packaging, it's like, it's same as everyone else. It's plastic base. We couldn't find another solution, at least from the industry. So just finding better packaging, or having those other products I talked before of chilled or frozen or some meal solutions if you want. That's all a bit lower risk. We have an opportunity, which is we have natural recruitment in our open sea farm. That opens up other species that we're not starting. So it doesn't come from our hatchery. Okay. And so we have to deal with that. If we have them, how are we going to sell them? How are we going to market it? And the last one, but it's definitely not the last one, is the sustainability and how we communicate to consumers, to stakeholders about it, and also the certifications. So that could be organic certification, or in Portuguese bio, but there's many others, as most of you would know. There's an element of de-risking, obviously the portfolio of the two things, but then honestly it's about not doing everything ourselves, and it's about being a good partner to our external partners, a good partner for advisors. So we have many people that are consultants, independent freelancers that are working with us. That makes a lot of sense, at least for where we are right now. And grants make a huge difference, because the risk profile for a company right now to make these continued investments is very big, and the grants just help, really materially help on de-risking. Okay? So I think we have only a few minutes left, or not even a minute, but we're done. This is a thank you from my side. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a Q&A, but if anyone has any pressing question, we have 1 minute or something like that, no? If there's no questions, we're good, and it's a thank you from our side.